Right, let's change pace a little bit now. I want to talk about for all of those people carrying HECS or higher education debts, help debts, sometimes as they're referred to now. And so we did see, not this weekend, but last weekend, the Labor government announced before the budget was released last week that they were going to make some changes, retrospective changes, and I've got some numbers here. So effectively, in the 2023 tax year, where you and I were screaming out to people who had HECS debts is to pay as much as you can off it before the 1st of June, not the 1st of July, the 1st of June, because it was going to be increased by 7.1% because that was the inflation figure at that time, the annual inflation figure. Now, what we've heard from the Labor government, the federal Labor government, is they are retrospectively going to go back, which is effectively a 4.7% saving, and they're going to use the wage price index in terms of wage growth index, I should say, in terms of how they're going to calculate that figure. So retrospectively, if you have paid that money, they're going to adjust that in any outstanding debt. So what's good about that? It's obviously a significant investment, $3 billion. So congratulations to those people who are going to get cheaper interest on their HECS debts, but it also affects around 3 million students. So that is a good news story for those. But what doesn't change, to your point here, Julia, so whether it's the wage growth index or adjusting for inflation, is that come the 1st of June, 1st of June, 2024, i.e. coming up soon, right, in a couple of weeks' time, you need to do as much as you can to pay down your HECS debt as best you can with the amount of money that you got freed up that won't put you into any type of financial stress. Do you want to talk to that story, Julia?
Yeah, and yes, do that if you think you can. But if you don't pay all your HECS off, still when your tax return goes in, they're going to take some out in HECS, depending on what your scale is as to how high your income is. But most importantly, this strategy works very well in your last year. So if you think the amount the government's going to take out of your tax refund to pay your HECS this year is about what you owe, then beg, steal and borrow the amount to pay it now before the 1st of June. And then when you do your tax return, all that HECS that your employer's been taking out will be refunded to you and you can pay the people back. But the trouble with the balance at the 1st of June is not the balance less what you've been paying during the year. It's the amount that you had basically when you did your tax return last year, plus any other courses you've done since then, because the money that your employer takes out is just tax withheld. And until you lodge your tax return, that's not allocated to your HECS debt. If you've got extra money, you can pay it off and save yourself the uplift factor. The uplift factor is probably going to be about 4.2%. So if you've got a credit card debt, it's better on that. Of course, when you do your tax return, if you still have a HECS debt and you've only just paid part of it off, then when you do your tax return, they're still going to take the full amount of HECS off you. But if this is the last year anyway and you pay it down now, then you're just going to get that money back when you do your refund and you can then pay it off your credit card. So that's worth doing everything. But to pay it off, only part of it, to only pay part of it off, you've got to consider that it's only costing you 4.2% or similar a year. Last year, the wage price index was only 3.2%. Then you probably got other things you'd be better paying the money on. But in the last year, definitely worth doing.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.